All right, peace and supreme bliss. You are now tuning in with just a baby boomer and a millennial with myself, Amin Anuti AKA Shondra Harris, and Mama Denise Smith Barnes, founder and CEO of CTSO. And today our topic is self-doubt and not showing up for ourselves. The truth about self-doubt and not showing up for ourselves. So today we wanted to have this discussion. One second, let me turn this up. We wanted to have this discussion because we tend to accept a lot of external factors in our life that prevents us from accepting who we are and showing up for ourselves daily, our authentic selves daily, because of perception and how we feel other people may see us, projection, and so many other external factors that create fear and just really stops us from moving forward like we need to walk in our purpose. So one conversation Mama Denise and I were having was not necessarily not having faith within self, but just how do we show up for self without the judgment and the perception of how we will be perceived by others. So if you wanted to jump into the conversation we was actually having previously yesterday and probably over the past year, honestly, um, about self-doubting our gifts, our purpose within this time right now.
You want me to jump in?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how do I start this? What I want to say is that I am that professional procrastinator for more than one reason. And one of the reasons is to try and not be controlling of a situation, conversation, or the duties to be done, meaning keeping in mind, being mindful of the persons around me, supporting others, making sure they're heard, they're felt, they're recognized before going forward. So that allows me to push my wants and needs and feelings to the back until you get my time wrong. Then I come full force, which is not proper. Um, some things could be heard and not said at certain times. But for me, self doubt is that need and want to be absolutely correct in anything I'm doing, saying, or performing. Um, and it brings on self doubt for me because then I'm like, I know what I'm thinking, I know direction I'm going, and I may have know exactly what is to be done, but it's that self doubt. Like, what if I'm wrong? I don't want to be wrong, especially if it's dealing with someone else's situation. So you always want to give that advice, but you don't want to. I do not want to be that person that gave you some advice that did you harm than good. So that brings about my self doubt in counseling, uh, and where I'm viewing and seeing things happen and opinions and that's majority of the time actually. I'm a very opinionated person. I do speak up, but there are things that really matters and have a lot of heavy weight to it. I then encounter self-doubt that I'm in the right direction, I'm going is correct in what I'm saying. I'm like, well, what if I'm wrong?
So do you
That
feel?
yeah. And speaking of self-doubt, and then that what comes to me as well as then a lot of self-doubt is because of the way you were raised to think in a one way, you know. So meaning if I'm um raised to think this way, but I actually see it in a different way, regardless of my age or how young I was. I just didn't see it the way you saw it. And sometimes it allows me to speak what I feel which often got me slapped in the mouth, but I still felt what I felt. You can slap me and hit me all you want, but what I felt, you could not shake that. So, but only thing that did was force me not to speak up, to hold my thoughts and go along with the flow. And as you groom into that, we grew up as an adult looking at, oh well, that is not right, but I'm not going to say anything because that offend that person. Oh, I use, this will cause a punishment if I said anything, or they will look at me differently if I said anything, or went did certain things in a certain way that wasn't in line of what they're doing. So as I got a little older, I became more boisterous, and as I began having family, I just saw things differently and I act accordingly to the way my heart felt. And it's not the way I grew up and was taught to feel. So, but some of that is still in us, regardless as we grow out of some of the old traditional ways of doing things. But as a culture, we still grow up in that cultural and saying, "Oh, that's our culture." You do these things. That's my culture. That's how I grew up thinking like that. So the old sayings we have, one of the sayings that calling what called the pot calling the kettle black, or
Mm-hmm.
you dig one hole, you dig two. Those kind of things. Those old sayings, they have meanings, but at the same time, like I'm saying, these things and that's embedded in us, what makes a lot of us as an adults have second doubt um, about any progress we make in life. And it's all about making sure that we're in line or we're being seen favorably among others. But if what I learned in growing, if we just go accordingly to our heart, and sometimes we have to range heart over mind and when we're dealing with compassion and comfort, and what really makes sense. And in my counseling, a lot of time I ask people to, if they don't see not comprehend certain situations, I just simply tell them, say, hey, make a list, pros and cons,
Mm-hmm.
and go with your pros and cons list. So yeah, self doubt. Sometimes it allows us to miss out on opportunities. It self doubt allows us to put ourselves in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of just trusting and believing in the direction we need to be in to while asking for a guidance among our heavenly spirits.
So, one thing you said that was very essential was about trust. So, if you have self doubt, does that necessarily mean you have lack of trust within self? Meaning where you don't feel that your intuition will guide you to make sound decisions based off of discernment. So, like, for instance, a lot of how we've been taught is to trust externally. Meaning, okay, for example, we go to the doctor, we know something's wrong with us. We feel like a medical physician, they've had all of this background education. So we're going to trust them that what they say is true versus what we know about our bodies and our anatomies and things like that. Right? So, for example, I'll use herbalism because we take herbs, we drink tonics, we make our own things like that. We know that instead of getting a multivitamin, we could easily go outside and take a moringa leaf and chew that every day, right? We wanted to lower our blood pressure, we could take some black seed oil. Just simple things, but because we've been taught that I've had, this person, this individual, or this facility had all of this education, that they would know what's best as far as our health and stuff goes. Even though our body, our minds, our souls, our hearts, and our intuition is telling us everything you need is outside within these herbs and these plants that I provide for you. But you have been instilled that the trust within yourself is not valid. You need that external validation to tell you that, you know, these herbs are better than this pill. So, do you feel like self doubt actually leaves room for um, the lack of trust within self to make discernment and sound decisions?
Well, self doubt is what it is. It's doubting
Mm-hmm.
your opinion, it's doubting what you believe or what you know. And it leaves you to question what you know, but there's other things around you, this, that weighs in to cause you to have self-doubt. And that is a lack of clarity on what it is that you're dealing with. And it can
Mm-hmm.
also be ego that causes your self-doubt.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Ego is a huge blockage. A huge blockage. And self doubt is a part of ego because, again, you looking external for external validation and not to hurt other people's feelings, not to be perceived a certain type of way. But again, is that acting out of ego or is that actually having a knowing of who you are? So the ability to show up for self, you'll have your ego mind have you in a lack mind state to where you want go out and share the best parts of you that are actually needed during these times. So like you said, you have the gift to speak up, but sometimes you bite your tongue. But as I always tell my children, say what you got to say and modify it later. Because sometimes some people need to hear it in the raw, and however they receive it could actually be them and not you. But
Hmm.
because you have these self connotations, this self doubt, this lacking mindset, because of ego, you bite your tongue, you harvest it, and it becomes something of an external illness, right? So sometimes when we were younger, for example, we were taught to be seen and not heard. What happens in this house stays in this house, things like that. Pardon me. So you already taught to bite your tongue, not speak up for yourself, not show up for yourself. So how does that impact you as an adult? And how does that show up in your life as an adult? Uh-oh. Did I lose you, mama? 1 second, guys. We must was about to hit something real good. We got knocked off.
I'm telling you, telling you. First
Whoa.
you went completely out, and then I went out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that was actually at 13:33 or in the threes. So,
Okay.
I mean, we look at the messages of the threes. What exactly does that mean?
Mind,
But
body, and spirit.
hey, we got to talk about it. You know, what happens when you're taught to bite your tongue at a young age? And then as you grow up and you get in these settings where it demands for you to shine your light, but because now you've created this fear or you have this nurtured fear within you, you refuse to speak.
Hmm.
And the things that you need to speak about, you hold back on because of perception and projection.
Hmm. Now,
So, what happens?
back to where you're told to bite your tongue, basically, literally, that just meant shut the hell up. Don't say that. Whether you were a child or an adult, a subject that someone considered taboo, or there was something being said that they did not want you to speak aloud about, or didn't want you to say it again because of feelings were involved or egos were involved. They're like, bite your tongue. That's not true. Uh, to know literally to bite your tongue, it hurts, and you couldn't speak or you couldn't utter those words for a minute if you ever bit your tongue before, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to grow up like that, that's a cultural thing. I think more so than anything. And it's like you're not allowed to say those things. You're not allowed to speak those things or something to that connotation. Um, yeah, but that doesn't mean to bite your tongue doesn't erase what's in your mind or what's in your heart at the time. You just wasn't allowed to express it, to let go. So therefore, whatever it is that you were not allowed to say stays bottled up in you, and it stays bottled up in you to your life. It's a lifelong thing. Things that you're told to bite your tongue about, people remember that for the rest of their life. Things that you're allowed to speak freely about, it flows.
Mm-hmm.
It flows. Hurtful things, it remains as a scar, as a battle wound. It could be looked at as a part of a certain age growth that, or I remember back in the day, this, that, and I was, wasn't allowed to say this, you wasn't allowed to say that. But you can, when you relate back to those segments, you can really visualize yourself at that time, what it was that was said to you and why you had to bite your tongue, what that subject was, because that's still in the back of your head. You told to bite your tongue, that means you were able to put that back in that file cabinet and was not able to let it out,
Mm-hmm.
until you got older and spoke how you felt about the situation. And then some people still hold it today, um, within the back of their mind. It's subconscious. It's just there. It has not been
Mm-hmm.
released.
Mm-hmm.
So um, being able to speak your truth and being mindful though of the person's feelings when speaking your truth is the best way to lead your life. Honestly, it's hard not to be a liar, but we all do it. And I may say something to you, but I know if you're sensitive, gotta win a crowd or something, I want to be direct and get it over and say what I got to say. um I may not say it. I may say it in a way that might be comical, or it is a hopefully non-offending way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm that person. I just feel like I have to just tell you what the hell I'm saying, because I ain't got time to repeat myself because I can't remember that long. I don't want to go back over the conversation. So
Right.
I'm going to say what I need to tell you that I feel you need to know. So there's no misconfusion on how I feel about a subject or about you or about maybe something that you've done. And then we can just keep it moving. I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm good. Once I speak it, I'm good. It's when I'm
Yeah.
holding it and not able to speak it is when I'm not good.
I had a question about that. So let's say you've held on to so many past experiences. You healed from it, whether family, partnership, um, dealing with corporations, dealing with individuals, period, situations, right? During this time, would it be beneficial to speak and tell your story of the past? Or would it be beneficial? Do you feel that priority is showing exactly where you are now without continuously revisiting the past? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm noticing, and it's starting to become very cliche about these words about trauma, healing, healing journey, healing process, spiritual journey, all of these things, right? These labels that we have right now during this wave from 2020 going forward. I know it came out in the 60s and 70s too with the rainbow, happy, joy, all of these things. And now it's showing up again in this present moment. Is it beneficial to keep revisiting the cycle of, we know it's a cultural thing about being seen, not heard, not speaking outside the household, um, relationship issues, all of these things? Or is it beneficial for the collective to move forward and say, yeah, we've been through these things, but this is where we are now?
I think anything pretty much in the past,
Mm-hmm.
a learning experience, because there's something that was cultivated in our past lives, that we either agreed to and saw beneficial, and there's some things in the past we like, it was not beneficial, it hurted us more than it helped. So it, to me, the past is what it is. It's a lesson, it's a history, it's a lesson either learned or it's, and if it wasn't learned, it will be repeated in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So I think life in general and growing up is a, it's a lesson to take heed in, to either learn or to benefit from. When I was growing up, there was always the older people always reminded you, even in they can quote the scripture really quick about the gray heads hairs on the head is a sign of wisdom. And I was just listening to
Mm-hmm.
some more, a comedian was saying the kids, the
Mm-hmm.
youth of today, these generational thing, um, it's different. They can come up with quicker antidotes to doing something, and they can pick up situations quickly than we were said for us at our age or our uh, older family members.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference. You say, "Oh God, that's so smart. They can pick this up." Yeah, that's technology. They're born into a whole different world and a whole different system, learning system than where we came in. We came in slow and drugged into
Mm-hmm.
our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you speak culture to these young people, they don't know what that is. That's just a word. They think it's red, white, and blue, or red, green, and yellow. You know, that's my culture. I'm black. But do they really understand what that means to be black or to be Latino or any other race? So, what I'm saying about that, young people pick up knowledge, give it to them. And, but they need to understand what wisdom means. Wisdom comes from our past teaching, our learning, mistakes been made. So when we relate to them and trying to put wisdom on them, that's when they should understand and allow wisdom to take place. Because the example was given, and said Guru also said the same thing. This is it. Cars were invented. Perfect example. Back in the day when there was a time to introduce a new vehicle, 1922, the next year coming in, they used to show you facts of the car, why you should buy this new car. It's the energy,
Mm-hmm.
the fuel efficiency, the battery life, the tires, and then they'll give you the styling, right? The styling
Mm-hmm.
was really last. They focus on the engine performance,
Mm-hmm.
and they would focus on the gas mileage. Nowadays, and pay attention to the commercials now. They come on, they show you the color, shape of the car, then they go to the electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, so what does it do?
Right.
Why should
The
I buy that
sometimes
car?
your colors.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we're saying that's knowledge, but that is not wisdom. And then in my mind, my wisdom tells me that our vehicles have come a long way from the day I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And meaning that we've gone from heavy gas guzzler, heavy car weighted cars, and they invented cars that was lighter in weight so that you have a better gas mileage. And now they're saying, listen to one man who has a lot of money and saying, oh, we should go to um, the electrical vehicle. And in my head, my wisdom is asking, okay, you buy that electric car. What is the actual cost to keep that car on the road?
Mm-hmm.
This car now is equipped not with one tank of gas, but with multiple batteries. Who manufactured those batteries? So is it really safe for the environment? Is that really helping our environment?
And
If
who
you
has to die to manufacture it?
so you know if your car gets you 19 miles to the gallon and that electric car gets you 30, but I know and pretty much the science is the same. If I drive hard and drive at 70 miles an hour, I'm not going to get that 19. But I know I can stop at a gas station. Right now, they're putting out these vehicles, and there's not enough charging stations. So if I want to drive from West Palm Beach to New York straight through without stopping, if I got to stop to ignite, I would say ignite the electrical vehicle, how long do I have to sit there for it to ignite, to charge up? How long?
Mm-hmm.
Versus me stopping at a pump, pumping up and going about my business. So these things to me is wisdom versus knowledge. That's cute, but I'm trying to have this for the long haul. So I was listening to, watching some of the folks who bought the first electrical little Ford vehicles and whatever, and they send them back into the shop. Their vehicles in the shop for like 3 and 4 months because parts are not available.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Granted, some of our cars, the newer vehicles that, well, I would say my older models, parts are available. You go online and buy those. So wisdom versus knowledge. So it's like use wisdom, not saying don't get an electrical car, that's your thing, you do it, but understand and weigh out the pros and cons. That's my thought. Um,
But
wisdom,
can you have wisdom without actually going through experience? So the way for you to acquire wisdom, you actually have to go through certain experiences, tests, trials, tribulations, in order to have an aha moment to actually be able to say, okay, yeah, I have the knowledge of this, but let me dig deeper. So if I never really had the experience, can I really talk about the wisdom aspect of it? Like I know a lot of this is going back to a cultural thing. A lot of parents try to shield their children from things, but you never know your child's reaction to something if your child has never experienced it on their
hmm
own.
hmm
So, like babies, they like to crawl, they like to touch stuff. I know I keep using examples and metaphors, but that's the way for us to really understand. They don't have fear until you instill fear in them and tell them not to do something. And then eventually it stops them and creates self doubt from them actually going out on a limb and having faith and trying new things. So a baby likes to crawl up the stairs, or a baby likes to be adventurous when they playing at the park and stuff. But if you telling them, oh, that ladder is dangerous, then they'll never go on the ladder and they'll never try a ladder. And also they may develop the fear of heights because now they have the fear of falling, or they have the fear of being too high from the ground. But had I tried something, had I tried to go up the ladder and then actually fail, then I knew the dangers of actually being on that ladder, which gives me that acquired knowledge or that acquired wisdom, versus you telling me, and now I just have this perceived notion that everything high is dangerous for me, which creates doubt. So, can we have wisdom without the actual experience? You were able to live through the years and transitions of the cars, which we know electrical cars have advanced because they've been around since the 1920s. They just haven't really taken off the way that they have until now. but you were able to see the progression of it versus, and it's a psychological thing because with your generation, you were taught about mechanics and things like that, versus with this generation, the psychology of colors, sounds, it's played a lot. Like you said with commercials, I already know if I see red, a red circle dot, that's Target. If I see blue and gold, I know that's Walmart. Everything is a psychological thing. You all were more hands on versus this generation is more visual. So, how do I get that wisdom if I'm just being told everything? It's still an external factor, it's not innate for me.
Hmm. Experience, taking the opportunity to accept experiences when they come along, even
Mm-hmm.
if they're unexpected. And even the experiences that I'm hearing a lot lately is that, okay, if something negatively impacts you in some way, it's hard, it's downhearting, but also look at it on the flip side as well. What's the positive to that negative that just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, there's always a positive. There's always it might be small, but there's always a positive to a negative.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be either if that negatives warns you, oh, you don't want to do that again, or when you see a personality that jumps out at you that had negatively affected you in a previous relationship or job or something, I always say, okay, I see what color that is, I smell it, and I don't choose to indulge in it again. So that's that positive to that. That don't touch you. Okay, yeah, it some things just doesn't change. It's up to you to take that that chance to see if it will. But what it is what it is.
Very good. Now this is going back to our conversation um with taking trips. Um wow, I'm losing my train of thought because this must be heavy. Have you found or have you seen during your journey at this present moment that every time you're about to evolve or every time you start trusting in yourself or you about to go in a new direction, something from the past is thrown at you or some unforeseen circumstance comes in just to test you to see if you're ready to receive and actually walk in your divine purpose?
I would say yes, and I think well today at my age I consider that normal. So much so that sometimes when things are going so well, I'm like, okay, where's the hiccup? I'm waiting for something to jump out around the corner, to either trip this up or hold it up. And really, in actuality, we shouldn't set our mindset to be that way, but go with the flow. But my thing of it is, I'm an ABC planner, so therefore,
Mm-hmm.
that's my mindset. Um, but I think it's a norm. It's part of life being on this earth. There's negative and
So
positive.
what lessons have you learned to learn how to surrender control, to actually go with the flow so that you can continue to walk in your purpose? Because if you in ABC order and you always trying to control everything, how you not know you missing something? Like certain messages that you need in order to make the right discernment so you can move forward.
In actuality, if something happens, ABC, yes, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if something happens, if I'm planning something, something happens along the way, like you say, it's continuously. Oh, take my house for example. Oof, the latter part of 2023, there was things happened left and right. Just I couldn't get things fixed fast enough, repaired fast enough around the household, and to say that my pocket could handle. So it came to a point where I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let me just sit back. Let me find out what's going on in the universe. I just start analyzing, boom, 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 just making a list, analyzing before I allow myself to be upset, to be depressed about what was happening and I could not control it. So, and that's what I do to just keep my calm. Basically, I take a deep breath and say, okay, so this is happening. How can I fix this? Where can I go? Okay, I can't afford to do that right now, but this is also happening. So, which is easier for me to fix right now? So, that's my process. That is my process. Okay, what must I do in order to make this happen? It's a process I go through.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if it's something to the point of, because when I wanted to get my truck painted for a while and I wanted a certain color, I was trying to find a certain person that I can afford to pay to get my truck painted in the color that I wanted. And so it was a process. I had to wait. Wisdom told me, hey, don't rush into things. You may, you know, run across something else, a good deal, or you may find someone that could do it for the money that I have to save up for it. But at the same time, I just didn't want anybody, because the past has showed me when I went along with someone's friend who could do it for the money I had, they did a crappy job.
Mm-hmm.
And within a year, I'm looking to have the job done again. See, I'm not trying to repeat spending money out for the same thing. It defeats the purpose. So sometimes you have to spend a little bit more to have good quality. Um, but as things were constantly happening, hot water heater goes out, the leaking roof, you know, no air conditioning, electrical problems. So when you having all of these things within 1 month, is okay. Let me sit down and think. It's just me. I only have this income coming in. What can I do to salvage this? First thing is take a deep breath
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, Lord, I can't handle this by myself. I need your help. What should I do first? And then, I make it known to someone that I figured may can refer me to someone or something like that. But the main point of it was not to panic, get in a frenzy, and just end up calling anyone that I would end up spending more money than necessary and having the job repeated. Um, that kind of thing. So taking cautious, and it'll get done. It'll take a little longer than normal. It'll get done. My truck got painted. It was 2 years later, but it got painted. And when it was, I was so happy. I was so elated, you know.
Yes.
And truly, it puts a smile on my face every time I walk out and look at it. But it got done.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the difference now too into today's society. Quick, snap your fingers, want it done now. Okay. The negative part of
Thanks
that
to
is the negative thing about that, you may end up repeating the mistake you made, and it's going to cost you that money you were trying to save. Plus,
that. Uh-huh. So being patient,
it's part of wisdom.
it's very key. It's a part of wisdom.
It's part of
Being
wisdom.
patient, having faith that all things will work out because they do work out.
Hmm.
And two, if you need divine intervention, don't be afraid to ask for it.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
Right.
Like you
When
have
it,
a whole,
and
you
then
have a whole.
sometimes I got to look at when things start hitting you, boom, 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 boom. Back in the day, now you'll hear people say, "Oh, you must have did something wrong. Oh, karma got you." Eh, I'm trying so hard not to curse, but
You could cuss.
No, it may offend the next person who's watching the video. So,
Mm,
but the thing of it is, it's like, it's not so much karma unless you realize you have done something in the past. Now that may hit you to somebody else and is reflecting back on you and
mm,
double time. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, okay, there was time back when it came to my mind, or I had the dream that my intuition was telling me, you need to go work on this. You need to go work on that. But I said, okay, I'll do it. I kept putting it off,
mm-hmm,
procrastinating, which I'm a professional at. And I need to do this. Now this has started hitting that I should have done. I made preparation for it back when, and I didn't. Now this is happening and doubling up on like all the things that my mind and intuition was telling me, start looking at this, fix this, check this out, have somebody look at this. I kept putting it off. I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough money yet.
mm-hmm,
I want to pay cash for it. I don't, because I'm trying to be, debt free. So it just is, that's that lesson. We're living in a time where things doesn't last as long as it used to, or it's more expensive to repair than before. So it puts us in a state of mind where I self doubt. I don't have enough money. I
mm-hmm,
can't find anybody. I didn't go out there to look to see if I could find somebody. I just put in my head, told me to put it off, to put
mm-hmm.
it off. I don't have enough money. It's self doubt. Nobody's going to come and fix this for me at this time. And I was looking that I had to pay over $2,000 to get my truck painted. And then when I did find someone, just happened to be telling someone that I was looking to get it done, it was like even one third of the price, and the job was so expertly,
Mm-hmm.
professionally done, till it was just like blew my mind that there was still someone or business around that could really handle the job and do it for that price. And then that allowed me to fix and work on other things. So trust me, no longer was holding off and waiting. I am waiting for a hot water heater now because I had to shower in cold water this morning, but pretty soon it's not going to matter because it's getting hot. But just
Uh-huh.
putting things off and working at one notch at a time. So yeah, I gotta get the hot water fixed. Yeah, I got to um, replace it. I think, although I wanted to try something I saw on YouTube and just replace the elements. This is part of learning.
The University of YouTube.
Yeah, I can go in and see, that's that knowledge of young people that took that, kind of like researched it. I'm like, I think I can do that myself.
Uh-huh.
Go in and step by step and show you how to replace the elements. So I'm thinking today, maybe I have an electrician coming over today. Anyway, I'm going to ask some questions about it. And if he feels that I need to replace the water heater, I'll just go ahead and replace it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
versus putting in replacing the elements. So it's a learning process. You're never too old to learn.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So another message that we just received from this conversation is stop trying to juggle 50 gazillion things at once. Focus on one thing so that you're intentional on what you're trying to manifest. Like you said, you wanted your truck to be done correctly so that you didn't have to get it again, but you had to have your focus on that in order for it to manifest the way that you needed it to manifest or wanted it to manifest. So,
Mhm.
focusing, being intentional, right, and having your standards. You don't have to control everything, but you still should have standards about the quality of things that you want in your life and how you want them to be presented. They may not always show up in the way that you want them to be presented, but it always works out, right? Because that's what you said. Regardless of the
Right.
fact that all of these things have transpired, it was like, I want my truck painted. I don't know how I'm gonna afford this. Oh, the universe, your angels, the God, oh, we got you. But we're not just gonna send anybody your way because, like you said, you handling and juggling all of these different things and you have a standard of quality that you want, and we know that you deserve this.
Mhm.
So therefore, we're going to provide you with quality over quantity. And it may take 2 years, but it's going to be worth the wait so that you can be able to do other things.
Mhm.
You don't have to go out get another truck, or you don't have to go. It's not rust eating up your car. You know, your car's still riding, but you have to have trust and have a clear cut, um not necessarily list, but have a clear cut vision of what it is that exactly you want and the standard of quality that you desire in order for it
Mhm.
to manifest.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
gathering. Focus
Right.
one thing at a time.
Right. Um, and it's something that you mentioned that it really relates back to trusting in the universe and trusting in our higher goods, our, you know, and some things, like you said, is when sometimes when things just happen, boom, 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 on top of each other. There's a lesson out. There's a lesson in there to learn. Because I sat down in this chair and I'm like, okay, this is happening. This is happening. I am not going to panic. What else is going to happen? And so I
Mm-hmm.
started listing all the things that need to be fixed. And I set a schedule to, okay, Monday I'm going to go check this person for this, and just see who I can get to fix this, or research and see if it can be fixed or whatever. Back in the day, and this is wisdom versus knowledge. I know I can go on the car. I can go to a, a, a bank, a financial institute, and go get another vehicle. Back in the day, that's what I did. I didn't believe in riding around in a raggedy vehicle. Anybody that would tell you that, my ex would tell you that. If you got it had a dent, I wouldn't drive it. I would not. I park it and I wouldn't drive it. They had to go buy another car. And yeah, and so if it put me on the side of the road, I didn't want that vehicle anymore. They had to buy another car. That was me
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, because I felt like if as long as I'm working, I can always make pay bills. But see, that was that ignorance as well as being less knowledgeable about financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you didn't think about stacking up until time goes on, and you start making sense, and things happen, and it slows you down, and you ask for wisdom, and then it start trickling in. You can't do it like that. That doesn't make sense. You're going to retire soon. Why would you
Mm-hmm.
want to still paying on a vehicle with your retirement money?
Yep.
Retirement means leisure, relax. Why
Mm-hmm.
retire if you got to still struggle?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but nobody told us that the economy would be this bad on that retirement money I built back in the 80s. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
living on that money. Um, but I thank God I had the wisdom to seek a job that gave a pension, and that also would accompany my Social Security or whatever else that I built up in savings. Um, that was wisdom after living
Mm-hmm.
the past life of whew, paying robbing Peter to pay Paul, robbing Peter to pay Paul. When you get tired of that, robbing Peter to pay Paul, I got to come up out of this somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was that lack of common sense that says, "Girl, you causing this on yourself." So when you get that, and then as you reach the age, and unfortunately, I had to retire at the age of 40. Okay, but the wisdom back then, before, and listening to my intuition and my spirit guides and my prayers, is that you need this job right here. It's not paying you a whole lot for monthly, I mean weekly or hourly, but you need this job right here. This is going to set you up for what's coming around the corner. And so things happen when you don't listen to your spirit guides are telling you, or your intuition is telling you, okay, you need to pay attention to this. You need to pay. You're not paying attention, or you're afraid to listen and move forward because it doesn't make sense to you right then. It'll make sense to you later. Old people used to say, hard head and make a soft ass later. because you'll be ready
Mhm.
to listen then. So
Mhm.
if it wasn't for that, I could not. I don't feel that I could not be where I am today. Bottom line, things that I've gone through in life, and I'm able to survive and do okay right now in life. And so those things that they're just written and they pile up for a reason. They pile up for a reason. Not to say everybody is against you, but it's piled up for a reason. That's telling you the universe is telling you not listening. Okay, you want to do it your way, you do
Mhm.
it your
You
way.
going
Same
against
thing with
yourself.
our Heavenly Father tells you. You prayed, you ask for something, but then when I give it to you, you don't like the way I give it to you, so you want to do it your way. Okay, the way I see it, Jehovah said, you know what? I'm gonna sit back and you do it the way you do it. Let me know how it works out. So God, He sits
Mhm.
back and He just let us do it our way because we asked for something, He give it to us, and we didn't like the way He give it to us. So He said, okay, you do it yourself then, because you know better.
And that's what goes back to being intentional for what you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Having a clear cut vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing when you getting your gift, because everything is a gift, whether it's piled up or not. When you get it, having appreciation and gratitude because you wasn't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't intentional. So therefore, to me, I'm gonna go back to this karma word too. It's not necessarily karma. What it is you facing the consequence of going against yourself. Because there's no separation between God, intuition, and self. It really isn't. Right? So you not really sitting down and having a clear cut vision prior to saying you want something. Because again, when you say you want something and you pray about it, you're begging for it. But because you want it, like you said, so fast, you forgot to pay attention to detail. So when you get your gift, you got the nerves to want to pack it back up and get rid of it. But it's like, no, baby, you got to deal with those consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this, you said you wanted this nice, I like Mercedes, so I'm going to say G Wagon. You said you
Yes.
wanted this nice
Yes.
G Wagon, but you didn't say you didn't want to pay a car note for 10 years with this interest. And nor did you say you wanted to have discretionary income on the side. So when you
Mm-hmm.
go in to go get your G Wagon, you have negotiating power to say, nope, I'm paying cash. I'm not paying you the what's price is marked. This is what I'm giving you right now because I got cash in hand. So that's about being intentional. Yes, I want my powder pink G Wagon with diamonds and stuff in it, but I want to have the discretionary income to be able to walk in there and say,
Mm-hmm.
here, this is what I'm paying because I have negotiating power because I got cash on hand.
Right. And
And
that's
see,
exactly
that's where
because.
self that brings us back to self doubt because a lot of us don't have negotiating power because we're not clear about what we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We want
And
all
that's
of
something
these.
that
Yeah, go ahead.
that was something that I had to learn when asking the universe, you know, for things are manifesting, how to properly manifest. That's what I should say.
Yeah.
Because let me give you an example, two examples. I'm gonna tell you what one worked, and then the other. And then I first did it with my last vehicle was a Mercedes, and I always had two vehicles. So, but when I injured my back, I'm like, I couldn't get in it or get out of it. If it's on the hill, I'm like, this don't even make sense. It stayed parked more than I drove it, so I sold it.
Hmm.
And then about a year or two, and I said, Lord, I wanted a luxury car because I always have my truck. I believe my truck was I bought it at that time when I had smaller grandkids. Sam just opened up, and we couldn't get everything in the vehicle on the weekend, so I got a truck. Plus, I used to do a lot in the community, and I love to recycle things. I'll pick up furniture off the side of the road, come in, recycle, teaching kids in the community how to recycle. Um, but I'm like, you know what? I deserve this. I always wanted a Mercedes, right? So I learned that, okay, you got to say exactly what you want, how I want it, what I wanted to look like, what price I wanted to pay.
Mhm.
Okay. And when I was ready, I went to the dealership. Because when I walked in that dealership, I can tell them just what I wanted. And they couldn't suggest this to me because I'm a black woman or suggest that to me. No, this is what I want. No more mileage than this. This is all I want. I'm going to pay this. And I never would tell them how much I'm putting down because I don't need you to know my pocket.
Mhm.
Okay. So you have something I want and I got something you want.
Mhm.
So I went in there like a boss. I went in
There we
there,
go.
very close attention to the paperwork. They try to sneak in numbers on you. And this is something I teach a lot of people. Pay attention to what, when they send you into the finance department office, they're going to always try to sneak something in on you. Even if you say no, they'll try to sneak it into those numbers. You don't know that you're paying for it. Take your time.
Mhm.
And I had the patience when I went there and they were like, it's so you hard. You know, what bank you going through? I'm already approved. I have my money. This is all I'm putting down. Oh, you're going to put all that down? Yes, this is what I'm putting down. Why
Mhm.
don't you at? Nope. This is what I'm putting down. This is what I'm coming out with now. So the other thing, with that as well, and then when they try to hold you there so long till you get tired and you give in. And so at one point I told the financial lady, what is taking you so long? You have my approval. You have my down payment. Only thing you need to be is flowing the information from the computer over to the financial papers. There's nothing else to put in there. And so
Mhm.
I know the trick to the game. So I was able to, I said, well, look, let me tell you something. I'm going to go home. When you finish that paperwork, you call me. Oh, no, no, no. Okay, okay, we got it. So
Mhm.
there's tricks to those games coming out. I came home very happy. I have the vehicle I wanted and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. Um, at the same time, because I looked at what it cost me in insurance, what it would cost me if the repairs was needed for Mercedes versus a little Toyota. I knew what I was paying
Mhm.
per month. So I was very happy with my transaction. There was no sweating at the end of the month when the month came in. And I
Mhm.
looked at, okay, if I did this, that, I could pay this off early. And what I end up doing, I got really into my nonprofit, my CTSO. And at the end of the summer, and I had the vehicle and I wanted it to keep going for another summer. I'm like, where am I going to get the extra money? The son told me about Carvana. And I'm like, oh, you sure that's not a scam, da, da, da. And he said, no, they researched it. He sat here, we looked at it, and I saw what they were giving me. I'm like, okay, I can get another vehicle. So
Yeah.
I end up with $7,000 more than I paid for the vehicle. So
Mhm.
who would have thought? Who would have knew if I didn't take the time and was guided to getting what I wanted and stayed focused on what it is that my purpose was, and I followed the path. I trusted my path to getting what I
Mhm.
wanted. And what that
There
did
you
was
go.
enhanced it, my business, my nonprofit to keep going. I
Mhm.
still have another vehicle. Like I said, I always have two vehicles. So I still have that vehicle. Um, but the thing and the other thing that, let me tell you something. Our archangels, yeah, they have jokes because, like I say, manifesting, and it's one of the things that you got to be particular when you're manifesting what it is you want and be serious about it. Because being a single person, I say, okay, I'm ready to date. Nothing serious, but a companion, right? You know where I'm going, right? And
Yup.
so I'm listening to all these people. I'm like, yeah, I just wrote it down. I manifest my husband. I wrote it down. I was,
Child.
and then my husband popped up. I manifest, but then what I learned, and then what was knocking on my door, I'm like, they were coming to the door, or I'll meet them not there, but it was nothing that I wanted. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I know I'm over 40, but ooh, what I'm gonna do with a 70, 80-year old? And so you said you wanted, you were looking for a companion. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, y'all got jokes. So I had a talk with I had a talk with Archangel Michael because I learned that he does have jokes. He's a jokester. And so, and then listening to someone on one of the YouTubes, and they were saying they manifest and whatever, and the lady was saying you have to be specific on what you're asking for. She said,
Yes,
"Yeah, I
absolutely.
manifest, and I got the man came." She said, "But did you? But he came with issues.
Hello.
He was handsome. He was there, but you asked for a tall. You asked for somebody that was wealthy." But this man, she could not live with. Couldn't. They didn't stay together for months, for about a year. The first few months was good. She say, but it came with so much baggage. And what this facilitator said, you didn't ask. You did not say you didn't want someone with baggage. You didn't say you didn't want someone with smaller kids. You didn't
Hmm.
say this is not what you're looking for. So that taught me manifesting. Yeah, I'm gonna ask for everything out. No drama, no little kids. I'm finna raise no more little kids.
A
They
healed
gotta have their own
individual who
house.
meets your frequency.
They gotta have their own house, own car, supportive, a car that runs. So and
Hmm.
all those things. So, but it's important when we're meditating and we're manifesting and asking for answers, or we're asking for a certain thing. We need to be very specific what it is that we're looking for. You know,
Hmm.
and what it is that we need, what our needs are, so that it will be done. It will come into fruition, but we need to be
Absolutely.
specific. Need to be very specific and clear
Absolutely.
on what it is that we looking for. Um, and if the universe find fit that you won't get this 6'2" person, and he might be 5'10", but he has all the other qualities, that's what the universe find fit for you and your situation.
Hmm. Hmm. And we actually going, let's say that topic for next week, because I actually think that that is very, very essential for the time that we're moving in now and the time that we're in now, because now you get manifestations like this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not intentional about what it is that you truly desire, and let's not forget that sometimes you want or desire something, that don't necessarily mean that's what you need at that present moment.
Exactly.
You're gonna get what you are at the frequency of where you're vibrating at that current moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a negative headspace, but you talking about baby, I want a farm out here. Oh, that farm might be full of spiders and snakes. You said you wanted a farm, but you weren't ready to deal with what it is to have a farm. So we're gonna give you a farm, but it's gonna have issues just like your mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So definitely I want to talk about that next week. So write that down. Well, I'll write it down. Let's not forget, be intentional about manifestation, because here we is about that self-doubt. Going back to our conversation, you were ready for a change, but now you second guessing the changes that's coming your way.
Mm-hmm.
But you manifested this because these were conversations you were having over the past year. So be cognizant of the things you asking for, and when they come, you gotta have faith and the knowing that you're not gonna be steered in the wrong direction. You're never gonna be steered in the wrong direction, but you have to have a knowing and be ready to walk through that door. You got on yellow today, you got on a golden color. That's telling you, come on now. I'm giving you that light, so walk through it. But you can't have that self doubt with you where I'm trying to take you, because that's ego, that's fleshly thoughts. We got to change our mindsets. And so, definitely next week, we're going to talk about the power of mindsets, manifestation, standards, having a clear cut vision.
Right.
And
Right.
we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it at that because that's very important.
Right. So we really
And
have
then,
to. trust the path that we're on when there is a positive path and trying to stay positive. That itself is some work to do. But
Mm-hmm.
let's talk also about the gift of gratitude next week as well.
Yeah.
The gift
Yes.
of gratitude.
We will.
Mhm.
We will. And on that note, April 6th is our Pinewood Community Day in West Palm Beach. There'll be
Mhm.
free food, entertainment,
Mm.
information, entrepreneurs selling a couple of their things, vendors. And if I miss anything, let me know. But it's just gonna be a
No.
lot of fun. Communion,
Mhm.
coming
Yeah.
together, good vibes. Right?
Right. Looking forward to everyone coming out, having a great time. Just
Yes,
have a great time, communicate with each other, and learn your neighbor. But we all can
absolutely.
be a wealth of knowledge and wisdom for each other. And you never know who holds that wisdom that can really make a task that you have personally an easy slate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we want to thank you all for tuning in to Just a Baby Boomer and Millennial with Amin Anuti AKA Shondra Harris and Mama Denise Smith
Yeah.
Barnes, founder of
Yes.
CTSO, founder and CEO of CTSO. All right, we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace and power.
All right. Bye.
Bye.